In today's video, we're going to be talking about T-tracks, all different kinds of tracks, how to use them, how to install them, how to cut them, how to incorporate them into your woodworking. All right, let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are here for the first time, my name's Anthony, and this is all about carpentry and woodworking. And if you like that kind of stuff and you enjoy the video, then you should consider hitting that subscribe button. All right, let's get started with all this T-track mumbo jumbo and stuff like that. Jigs, fixtures, stop blocks. What do I do? How do I cut it? Let's go. Let's get into the shop. Okay guys, so let's first start talking about what kinds of T-tracks there are, what you need them for, and then we'll go into how to cut it, how to install it, and I'll show you some tricks and techniques and things like that. So first thing I want to talk about is the basic T-track, and these things are pretty cheap. Now, you can also make your own T-tracks by buying a T-slot bit for your router, but I don't have one of those because these are cheap enough. So two different kinds of tracks here on the standard side. This one here, this red track, and I'm going to link all these different tracks in the descriptions below, so if you need to purchase any of these things, then go ahead and check the description box below and you'll see a link for each one of these different tracks. Okay, so this red track here, basic track, you can see why it's called a T-track is because if you turn it upside down this way here, this opening forms a T. Now, I put a voting poll on YouTube a couple of days ago, and we got some really good results. And a lot of people didn't even know what a T-track was, and that's okay because I'm going to explain all that to you today. Nobody knows everything. So I'm going to teach you all about it, and then you're going to see how important they can be. So this basic red one here has these little ribs, and this is what I like this particular track for. I don't know if I can get the camera to focus really on this. Let's see. Let me see if I can manipulate this a little bit. Maybe you can see right here there are, and maybe you can hear it, there's these little ribs in there, little ridges. And what I like about those, let's get the camera back a little bit because you're too close to me. What I like about this particular track is when you do make the dado groove for this to sit in, then these kind of pinch into the wood. You kind of got to like tap it in there with a hammer, and it gives it a really good bite. The only thing I don't like about this particular track is if you see these screw holes, I made these screw holes and countersunk them. There's just a line in there to show you where the center is, and then you have to make your own holes. Now, this blue track, and I believe this one's made by PowerTech, and I'm not sponsored by any of these. I'm just helping you guys out, showing you all the different things that I use. So, and like I said, I'm going to have a link for these. This blue track here already has pre-drilled and countersunk holes for you to screw it into the workpiece. This is a little more heavy duty than the red one. So you get yourself some of these knobs, and what these do is this is just a star knob and a bolt with a washer, right? And what you do is drill a hole through the piece of wood that you're going to make into a stop block, and you'll put the bolt into the T-track just like this. And once that bolt, or sometimes these tracks you can also buy the T-bolts or they come with them. And that's just a basic bolt, but instead of having a hex head on it for a wrench, it just has a T-bolt. Kind of like you see if you were installing a toilet, the toilet bolts are T-bolts. So that would slide right into the T-track, and then you would move the piece anywhere you would want it, and then you would tighten it down into the respective area, and you wouldn't be able to move it, and that would create the stop block. So I'm going to demonstrate all that right now because I have a jig that I need to put this in that I just made for the sliding table saw. So we're going to install this. Another really cool form of T-track is this from Craig. This was on my old miter saw station, and this was the fence, and you can see the T-slot in there, and it had a movable stop block with a cursor because you can see that this has a tape measure on it, or a rule, whatever you want to call it. And you would move the stop block over to the respective measurement that you would need. You'd tighten it down, you'd butt the workpiece up against it, and you would make your cut on your miter saw. T-tracks are also installed in some of your tools already. I'm going to angle the camera down because I want you to see on the table saw. I'll get you a little closer. The miter slots in the table saw, or actually most table saws, are actually T-slots. Works the same way as just with an oversized T-slot in this miter slot. It has this little metal piece that fits into the T-slot, and this is the washer. Once it goes in there, it slides into the slot, and then you tighten it up, and it's not going to move. This here is my router table, and you've seen this in tons of videos that I've done, and this has multiple T-slots. The T-slot here does a couple of things, has a couple of functions. Number one, it has the slot for the feather boards, and I made that a little tight, so move that around, holds the feather boards, that holds it against the fence. Here is the dust shroud and protection for the blade. That's riding in another T-slot, so you just loosen that up, move it where you need to move it, and tighten it up. And it also acts as a second part for the feather board up here as well. Okay, so now you don't need a piece this long, right? The jig you're working with, the jig you're making, or in your workbench, you wanted to put it in there and it's not that wide. You need a small piece, but you bought it. It came in a 2-foot length, a 4-foot length, a 6-foot length, and you need to cut it down. How do you do it? Well, a couple of easy ways to do it. Number one, what I like to do, take either an old 50, 60, or 80 tooth blade that you really don't use much or you really don't care for. Put it either in your table saw or your miter saw, and you can just cut it. Even though this is a strong aluminum, it's soft enough to be cut by a high tooth, fine finish blade. Another way you can cut it, if you don't want to go that route, just measure and mark where you want to cut it and take a basic hacksaw and just run it along there and you can cut it no problem. Okay, so now let's talk about installation. We need to get this into a jig that I made, or you need to get this in a jig that you made. Say you made a miter saw station, or you want to put this in your bench, you need a stop block, a guide system. What I'm going to do is, the easiest way to install it, you could do it on the table saw. You have to set up a dado blade and you have to kind of experiment a little bit because you can never really get it perfect the first time. The easiest way I found to do it, this is 3/4 of an inch wide. This is a 3/4 inch router bit. Now this is not the undersized plywood bits because that would be 23/32. This is an actual 3/4 inch straight bit. Okay, so take the router bit, we're going to install it in the router table, or you could put it in a handheld router, but you need to use an edge guide. Really quick and easy on the setup, I have my T-track here. I have my straight 3/4 bit installed in the router table, and I'm going to put it right up against the bit, adjust my router height, and then run my finger over the track and raise the blade until I can actually feel the router bit a little proud of the track itself. Okay guys, so would you believe me if I told you already made it now through the hardest part? Here's your T-track, and this is what you're looking for. You're looking for a nice, snug fit. So I'm going to bring this to the end so that it's flush on this side. I don't need all of this side here. That's going to get cut off on the saw. You'll see later. So I'm going to bring it as close to the end as I can, make it flush. That nice press fit. And that's it. So now you're going to just take these really small bugle-headed screws. If you want, you could take a Vicks bit and you could pre-drill, but I don't think it's necessary at all. Just make sure that you use really short screws. You could even use 1/4 inch if you want, because you don't want to come through the other side. So this is a removable parallel jig that I made for the sliding table saw. The way this works is I installed the T-track into the piece. I made a little housing for it so that it can slide back and forth. The bolt, the head of the bolt is inside the track, inside this plate. These are the star knobs that tighten it up to hold it in place where I need it to be after I make my measurements. So let me show you how this works. First, I need to cut off the edge here with the blade to make it 0 clearance and also 90 degrees to the blade relative to the sliding table. So I'll just make sure that these knobs are loose. So once I have it loose, this piece can move in and out as I need. The way I'm going to take my measurements is I'm going to set the stop block up at the miter fence. Then I'll take my combination square. I'll set it to whatever I have my stop block at the fence. I'll run this to the edge. I'll butt this up against that. I'll tighten it up. Once I have that tight, that's it. You see, it's not going anywhere. So now that I know that this piece is dead square to the blade, what I'm going to do is set a stop block, and then I'm going to position this the same distance from the edge as the stop block, and we're going to rip a piece parallel. Tighten it up. come back here, loosen up, parallel jig, bring this here, make sure I hit right there. I took my safety equipment off without changing the camera angle and without moving the piece from the jig off camera. I shut the camera to shut the saw down, but I haven't moved the piece yet. So let's get that out of the way. And really nice clean cut, but the true test is going to be are T-tracks and stop blocks accurate. I'm not sure if the camera will focus, but we got 4. Bring it up to the other side. We got 4. Absolutely perfect. And let's see the cutoff. Cutoff is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so do you need T-tracks? Well, that's going to be up to you. Do you do a lot of woodworking? Do you do a lot of carpentry? Well, you're probably already using T-tracks in your everyday routine, in your table saw, in your router table, on your miter saw with a stop block set up to it. Sometimes people even do it on a fence on a drill press. That's another option you can do. So easy to cut, relatively cheap. I'm going to put all the links. Just make sure you check those out. You can see how cheap they are. Make sure you're using the right size screws. Like I said, ways to cut it. You can use a hacksaw, you can use a table saw, you can use a miter saw, but try to use something that has a good amount of teeth on that blade, anywhere between 60 and 80. That makes it just a heck of a lot easier to cut. So you can see here on the parallel jig, the way I used it with the stop block, basically to move the piece in and out with the T-track with the star knobs. That's the way I like to do it. I also have set up like that on my miter saw for the shop. Do you need a T-track? No, but is it nice to have? Yes. Can it help you? Absolutely. All right, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the free content. You guys are really doing a great job interacting with the channel and everything like that. I want to welcome all my new subscribers, and thank you to those of you who have been with me from the very beginning. All right, guys, we got a lot more videos to do, so if you haven't already and you're here for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Everybody should give the video a thumbs up if you like the video. Make sure you comment and hit that picture of a little notification bell. That will notify you every time I upload a video. I'm trying to get as much information out to you guys as possible. If you're enjoying the free content, definitely check out the Teespring store. We have t-shirts, we have hoodies. It's a great way to support the channel and get something out of it besides the free content, and it helps me out. Also, don't forget to check those links for the list of tools and also the links to the T-tracks and stuff like that. All right, guys, I hope you had a good time. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Heck of a lot to do. And if you guys are interested, I'm thinking about doing a shop tour. So just let me know. I know I don't have much of a shop here. It's just, part of a basement and the garage, but, maybe it'll give people with a small shop like mine some insight of what you can do in a small space. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.